Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. We begin in the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the most merciful. Question before us today is it compulsory to recite a full surah, a complete surah after Al Fatiha in Salah, or can we recite partially and from anywhere in the Quran? So, Sheikh Muhammad ibn Hassan Abu Ja'far al-Tusi, in his books Tahdhib al-Ahkam and Al-Istibsar, which are two of the the four main books, which are concerned with preserving the fiqh of the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam and their transmissions. He lists in there an authentic narration, which is known among the fuqaha as Sahihatu Ismail ibn al-Fadl. It's the Sahih narration of Ismail ibn al-Fadl. He says, صلى بنا أبو عبد الله عليه السلام وأبو جعفر عليه السلام فقرأ بفاتحة الكتاب وآخر سورة المائدة فلما سلم التفت إلينا فقال أما إني أردت أن أعلمكم. Ismail ibn al-Fadl reports that both Al-Imam Abu Ja'far al-Baqir alayhi salam as well as his son Al-Imam Abu Abdullah Ja'far al-Sadiq alayhi salam used to lead them in prayer in Jama'ah. And so they recited Fatihatul Kitab, Surah Al Fatiha, followed by the last verses of Surah Al Ma'idah. And after completing the prayer, the Imam alayhi salam turns to them and says, Ama inni aradtu an u'allimakum. The particular reason behind why I recited the last verses of Surah Al Ma'idah, and remember, the narration is very clear. He didn't recite the whole of Surah Al Ma'idah. That would be exceedingly long, 120 verses. Most people would not be able to handle it, and it's not recommended because in Salatul Jama'ah, the hukum is that you have to watch out and look out for the interests of people who are feeble and old, senior citizens. And so you're supposed to keep it moderate, not make it too long. So obviously, and the riwayah is explicit in saying Akhir Surah Al-Ma'idah. He recited only the ending of Surah Al-Ma'idah. He didn't recite the beginning part, he didn't recite the middle portion, just the concluding verses of Surah Al-Ma'idah. And so this is clear proof that the Imams of Ahlul Bayt did not observe this rule that some people have popularized, which is that you're supposed to recite only a full or complete surah in Salah. The reality is the Imams of Ahlul Bayt were reciting from the middle and also from the ending of the surah or chapters of the Quran, and they were doing so إِنَّمَا أَرَدْتُ أَنْ أُعَلِّمَكُمْ, to teach them. This is a beautiful practice and sunnah of the Imams that is in great need of being revived in the masajid of the followers of the school of Ahlul Bayt, where unfortunately it's become sort of a norm or a routine for the A'immah and the prayer leaders to only recite Surah Al-Kawthar or Surah Al-Qadr and these short last surahs from Juz' Amma. Salah is an opportunity for us to remind ourselves of the Quran and to re-expose ourselves to Allah's reminders in the Quran. And so we should do so. There is another riwayah in Ilal al-Shara'i', which is Sahiha li ghayriha, where Sulaiman bin Abi Abdullah narrates a similar narration from Al-Imam, from the Imams of Ahlul Bayt, that they led Salah and they recited some verses from Surah Al-Baqarah. بِآيٍ min al-Baqarah. Okay, some verses from Surah Al-Baqarah after Al-Fatiha. And again, they did that because Surah Al-Baqarah has a lot of religious knowledge in it. It has got so much of the fiqh and so much of the ethics, so many parables and ibar and lessons. And so the 5 daily prayers, particularly the ones that are recited loudly, the Jahriya prayers, are an opportunity for believers to congregate and collectively reflect over the Quran. And so, yes, this is definitely a permissible, and it's a sunnah of the Imams that is in need of being revived. And the impediment to reviving it is this understanding that has developed in the minds of people that you are not allowed to recite incomplete surah. There are some narrations about this, but what people fail to understand is that the Imam in those narrations is talking about a situation where, for example, a person recites Surah Al Ikhlas like this, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Qul huwa Allahu ahad, and then Allahu Akbar. You go into ruku, and so 3 ayah surah, and you recite 1 ayah in first rak'ah, and then you complete it in the second rak'ah. This doesn't invalidate the prayer, by the way, they say. But they say this is makruh. Okay, it's not desirable. Why just, Qul huwa Allahu ahad, and then going into ruku doesn't make sense. But if you're reciting verses from Surah Al-Baqarah, Surah Al Imran, An-Nisa, Al-Ma'idah, or other longer surahs of the Quran, then you can just take a passage, and so long as the passage is complete in itself, it's conveying a complete message, you can go ahead and recite it. And it can be a source of enlightenment for the Musallin and for the congregation, as we see Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam and Imam Sadiq alayhi salam saying that we recite from the middle of the Quran so as to remind those behind us of these important ayat, particularly the last verses of Surah Al-Ma'idah. In the Shi'i context, I would say that they are very beneficial. I personally, when I lead congregation, particularly in Fajr and in Isha, I am also very fond of reciting the last verses of Surah Al-Ma'idah, because they are like a vaccination against ghulu. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shows you how Isa alayhi salam will disassociate on the Day of Judgment explicitly and clearly from all those who did ghulu, that is a very stark reminder and stern warning to all those who are doing similar kinds of ghulu, for Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam to remember that the Ahlul Bayt have also said, as Imam al-Rida alayhi salam used to say in his dua which he made to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he used to say, Allah, we disassociate from everyone who does ghulu in us. مِمَّنْ يَغْلُو فِينَا فَيَرْفَعُنَا فَوْقَ حَدِّنَا. We disassociate from everyone who does ghulu in our matter and elevates us beyond what we have, beyond what is due to us, and beyond what we have claimed and asserted for ourselves, by attributing powers to create or sustain to us. So he says we disassociate in the same way and in like manner as Isa alayhi salam disassociated, كَبَرَاءَةِ عِيسَى ibn Maryam مِنَ النَّصَارَى. The way Isa ibn Maryam alayhi salam disassociated from the Christians who did ghulu in him, we disassociate ourselves from the Shia who do ghulu in us. So these verses of Surah Al-Ma'idah, the last verses, are powerful reminders that I feel we should recite more often in Salah, following the Sunnah of our masters, Al-Imam Abu Ja'far Al-Baqir alayhi salam and Al-Imam Abu Abdullah Ja'far ibn Muhammadin al-Sadiq alayhi wa ala abaihi afdal tahiyyati wassalam. Wassalamu ala man ittaba'a al-huda.